Welcome back, gentle traveller of the tides. Tonight, we drift with water, the oldest companion of life, the quiet architect of every breath, every dream. You've known it before on your skin, in your pulse, in the soft pause between two heartbeats. But tonight, you will hear it not as sound, but as rhythm. The rhythm that built the world. Water is never truly still, yet it teaches stillness. It wears down mountains without anger. It carries continents without effort. It holds the memory of rain and the promise of return. It asks nothing, argues with nothing. It simply flows, from cloud to river, from river to sea, from sea back to sky again. Every river you have seen, every droplet that ever touched your hand, has lived 1,000 lives before this one. It has been part of storms, part of oceans, part of tears. It has touched moons and fallen stars, and now it finds its way back to you. Tonight, we will drift through 50 truths about water, each one a ripple, a reflection, a soft revelation of connection. You'll see how it shapes the air, the land, and even thought itself, how it moves through stone and bone with the same patience as time. So let your breath slow, inhale as waves rise, exhale as they fall. You are the shore, the sea, and the space between. There is no need to chase thought, only to float. Let your mind become clear as still water, where each idea drifts like a petal across its surface, carried somewhere soft, somewhere endless. For water knows the way, it always has, and as you drift deeper into calm, the first truth unfolds, a whisper from the heart of the earth. Before the mountains rose, or before air learned to breathe, there was water. Hydrogen met oxygen in the furnace of stars, long before Earth had a name. Those atoms, forged in light, drifted through space for billions of years, until gravity called them home. They fell together into oceans dark, endless, newborn. When the first rain touched the ancient crust, it sang against stone, hissing, carving, cooling. Each drop carried heat from the sky and memory from the stars. It filled craters, flowed through fissures, softened continents into continents, and began the work of patience. Water became the first storyteller, recording the shape of wind, the pull of the moon, the breath of volcanoes. Even now, every molecule carries that memory. The water in your glass, tonight, may once have flowed through the gills of a trilobite, or steamed from the mouth of a comet before life began. It remembers everything, but never keeps it for itself. It travels, transforms, and returns, always returning. So when you sip, or bathe, or listen to rain, you are not touching something foreign. You are touching history made liquid. You are tasting time. And time, like water, never ends. It only changes shape. At first glance, water seems calm, a lake under moonlight, smooth as silk. But beneath that quiet lies motion microscopic, perpetual, infinite. Every molecule dances, vibrating with invisible energy. Even in ice, where motion slows, it never stops completely. Stillness, in water, is just balance, a perfect conversation between movement and restraint. This is why lakes mirror the sky. Each tiny ripple bends light, turning clouds into liquid dreams. It's also why rivers whisper friction and flow, translating movement into sound. Every droplet sings a frequency of its own. Physicists call it Brownian motion, a ceaseless vibration that gives water its life. It's the reason it dissolves salt, sculpts stone, carries warmth across oceans. Water listens to gravity, obeys nothing else. It moves where it must, and in that movement, it creates harmony. To watch it is to understand the art of surrender. Water does not force its way, it finds it. And that is why, over time, it can move mountains. What we mistake for softness is power, learning, patience. So when your thoughts churn like waves, remember, you, too, are mostly water, and you, too, can find stillness, not by stopping, but by flowing. High above the earth, in air thin as glass, water drifts unseen. It gathers around dust and salt, invisible seeds for clouds. Tiny droplets merge, growing heavy, and the sky begins to hum. When they fall, they carry messages from every layer they pass through. Cool air, warm winds, electric fields. Each raindrop is perfectly round while it falls, but as it meets resistance, it flattens a brief oval of motion, shaped by air's invisible hand. They strike leaves, windows, oceans, faces, and each impact is music, the rhythm of renewal. When rain touches soil, the scent rises, petrichor, a perfume born of bacteria, minerals, and time. That smell is earth exhaling, greeting the sky. It's the scent of reunion. Science calls the cycle precipitation, but the sky calls it remembering. Evaporation, condensation, return. A circular breath shared by ocean, mountain, and cloud alike. Every drop that falls will rise again, in time. There is no loss, only transformation. So when you listen to rain tonight, hear it for what it is, the planet breathing in rhythm with you. Each drop, a heartbeat. Each pause, a promise. And as the clouds drift onward, you can let your thoughts drift with them, fading gently into the quiet of sleep. Somewhere, high in the clouds, where air turns thin and quiet, a single dust particle begins to gather moisture. A drop forms, freezes, and begins to spin not wildly, but rhythmically. Molecule by molecule, the crystal grows. Each atom of water joining in precise alignment, hydrogen and oxygen dancing in a six-fold embrace. Every snowflake, no matter how small, obeys this hidden geometry. Temperature and humidity sculpt its branches, tracing patterns too delicate for hands to imitate. No two are identical, yet all share the same symmetry, the same calm logic of ice. Each is a frozen echo of order, chaos held perfectly still. Under a microscope, a snowflake is a cathedral. Arches of light, corridors of frost, bridges woven from silence. And when they fall together, billions of tiny miracles landing as one. The sound they make is absence, the gentlest quiet you can hear. Scientists describe the process as nucleation and crystallization, but the truth is simpler. Water remembers harmony. It knows how to find balance even in freezing air. Each flake is a meditation in structure, proof that beauty does not resist cold, it is born from it. When the snow melts, it doesn't grieve. It returns to flow. To water, there is no such thing as loss, only change. And in that change, it finds peace. The ocean begins where sound ends. Below the sunlit waves, where blue deepens into midnight, water becomes heavy. So heavy, it can crush steel. So calm, it can hold silence like a secret. For every 10 meters you descend, the pressure rises by another atmosphere, the weight of the entire sky upon each breath. And yet, in that darkness, life thrives. Fish without eyes, creatures with light in their skin, beings that speak in pulses of electricity instead of voice. At the ocean's floor, volcanic vents release heat from the Earth's core. Bacteria feast on minerals, turning poison into energy, darkness into sustenance. It is life born without sunlight, the planet's first teacher of resilience. Scientists call this the aphotic zone, the place where light cannot reach. But even here, there is movement slow, steady, holy. Currents flow like veins, carrying warmth from one world to another. The ocean breathes not through air, but through motion. When you listen closely to the sea, you are hearing billions of molecules colliding in perfect balance, chaos turning into rhythm. It hums at a frequency low enough to steady a heart. It reminds you that quiet does not mean empty, it means complete. There is a moment, just before dawn, when the earth exhales warmth and the air drinks it in. That's when mist is born, the soft bridge between liquid and air. Each droplet is too small to fall, too light to rise. It floats, suspended between choices, like thought before it becomes word. Mist hides nothing, it reveals gently. It softens the edges of trees, blurs the lines of mountains, and lets light spill like milk across the fields. It slows time, inviting the mind to breathe at its own pace. Physicists describe it as suspended condensation, a balance between evaporation and gravity. But for those who walk through it, mist feels like memory, a dream the world has not yet finished telling. It carries the scent of earth and dew, wraps around skin like silk, and vanishes at the first touch of sunlight. Not gone, only transformed. Every wisp you see drifting through morning air is water learning how to become light. So when mist gathers outside your window, watch it without trying to hold it. It was never meant to stay. Its beauty lies in its leaving, and as the horizon clears, you can feel the air within you doing the same, lifting, softening, becoming part of the day's first breath. When clouds grow dark, when air grows heavy, the world holds its breath. A storm is not born of anger, it is born of imbalance, of warmth meeting cold, of energy seeking symmetry. The sky gathers power quietly, stacking invisible layers of temperature and wind, and then release. Thunder is just air expanding faster than it can move. Lightning, the sky remembering how to speak. Every flash you see is a connection, a bridge between cloud and earth, between heaven and matter. It lasts less than a heartbeat, but it illuminates everything. The air around it ionizes, oxygen splits and fuses again, and the scent that follows ozone is the smell of fresh beginnings. Within the storm's heart, raindrops collide and merge, currents twist and rise, and sound becomes sculpture. It is energy redistributing itself, chaos finding its balance. And when it passes, what remains is renewal. The world washed clean, the soil breathing easier, the sky lighter for having let go. You too are weather. You build clouds of thought, you carry lightning in your pulse. And sometimes, you must let yourself storm so peace can return. The sky does not apologize for thunder. It simply clears and glows. Far above the waves, the moon watches, silent, patient, and constant. It never touches the ocean, yet it moves it. Its gravity tugs at water's vastness, lifting tides in a rhythm so ancient that even coral reefs grow to its beat. Every coastline, every harbour, every grain of wet sand follows this pulse. The sea rises, exhales, and falls again. A breath too slow for our hearts to match, but deep enough to remind us that stillness is never still. When the moon aligns with the sun, the pull strengthens. Tides grow bold, water stretches farther. When they oppose, tides soften, and the world exhales. This dance has lasted 4 billion years. Without it, the seas would stagnate, currents would fade, and life as we know it would drift into silence. The moon is distant, but not detached. Its influence is soft, invisible, but unwavering. A lesson written in gravity. Connection needs no contact. Tonight, as the tide turns somewhere far away, your own body answers quietly. Salt water moves within you, following that same pull. You are, after all, 70% tide. Every cup of tea, every morning fog, every sigh from a warm lake, they all begin with heat. When water absorbs energy, its molecules dance faster, slipping free of one another's grasp. It becomes vapor, F-U-N, unseen but powerful. It rises, expands, carries warmth to places cold could never reach. This is how clouds are born, water lifted by invisible grace. What was once liquid becomes air, what was once weight becomes movement. In the laboratory of the sky, vapor meets cold and turns back again. Rain, mist, snow, hail the endless conversation of forms. Steam is both departure and return. It teaches transformation without loss. The same molecule that fogs your mirror may one day drift above a polar sea or circle Jupiter's frozen moon. When you breathe out on a cold morning and see your breath turn to cloud, you are seeing water remember its flexibility. It can be solid, liquid, or air, and in each form, it serves the same purpose: connection. To heat is not to destroy, it is to awaken. And to rise is not to leave, it is to share. Every kettle's hiss, every plume from the ocean's edge, is a small act of translation, the earth learning, once more, how to speak in vapor. And as that steam drifts upward, you can let your thoughts do the same. Lift, lighten, dissolve into sky. At dawn, before the first bird calls, a lake becomes a mirror. Its surface, smooth as glass, forgets the wind and remembers only light. Each reflection is perfect, not because the lake tries, but because it surrenders. It allows the world to appear within it, unaltered, unjudged. In physics, reflection is simple, light striking water and returning at equal angle. But what the equations cannot hold is the feeling, that sense of time pausing, of sky and earth folding into one another. When a lake is still, it becomes both surface and depth, both watcher and watched. It shows that clarity is not found in control, but in calm. Beneath that surface, life stirs. Fish glide through shafts of refracted light, plants sway in the undertow, and even the smallest ripple can carry echoes for miles. The mirror is never perfect, yet it is always true. When clouds pass overhead, they travel through both sky and reflection. The world doubles itself in silence. To stand by such water is to feel your own thoughts slow, to sense how stillness is never empty, it is alive, waiting to reflect what you bring to it. And as the sun climbs higher, and the lake begins to shimmer, the image dissolves. Nothing lost, nothing broken, just light returning to itself. Deep below our feet, rivers wander in darkness. Through limestone and basalt, through caverns and veins of salt, they move unseen, carving, carrying, remembering. It takes centuries for a drop of rain to travel from mountain to sea through these secret channels. Each drip of cave water leaves behind a whisper of stone. Over time, those whispers build cathedrals, stalactites descending like frozen rain, stalagmites rising like patient trees. This is geology written in liquid language. Subterranean rivers are the quiet architects of continents. They hollow caverns, feed springs, shape valleys, and rise again as fountains. Some of them never see the light, yet their fingerprints are everywhere, in fertile plains, in wells, in the taste of mineral water drawn from ancient depths. Science calls it the hydrological cycle, but down here it feels more like prayer. Water moves without eyes, yet finds its way home. It listens to gravity and patience alone. Sometimes it resurfaces as an artesian spring bursting upward, as if the earth itself remembered thirst. Other times it vanishes forever, merging with deeper flows beneath the crust. But always, it continues. You cannot stop water, you can only meet it where it passes. And when it does, it leaves the world smoother, wiser, more hollowed for light. After the storm, when sunlight returns, it doesn't come alone. It meets the air heavy with droplets, and in that meeting, the rainbow is born. Each drop acts as both mirror and prism, bending, reflecting, splitting light into its hidden voices. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Each one a different note of the same silent song. The rainbow is not an object, it is a relationship. It exists only where light, water, and your eyes align. Move a little, and it vanishes. Move again, and it appears a new proof that beauty can exist only in motion. The science is simple: refraction, reflection, dispersion. But the feeling is older than words. Every culture saw a bridge in that arc, a link between earth and heaven, storm and calm. The Vikings called it Bifrost, the Greeks called it Iris, and the Navajo saw it as the path of renewal. Rainbows remind us that colour is not painted onto the world. It is hidden within light itself, waiting for water to reveal it. Without rain, there would be no prism. Without light, no colour. Without both, no harmony. And when the arc fades, it leaves no trace but the lift in your breath, the quiet, knowing that light still sings, even when unseen. And now, as lakes rest beneath the morning sun, as underground rivers continue their slow devotion, and as the last shimmer of rainbow fades into air, you can feel the pulse of water everywhere. In the ground, in the sky, in yourself. All movement, all memory, all peace, connected. Stand at the edge of the sea and listen. What you hear isn't chaos, it's rhythm. Every wave carries the memory of wind and distance, a whisper from storms that ended long ago. A wave doesn't move water itself, it moves through it, one molecule passing motion to the next. A chain of invisible touch, flowing endlessly forward. When the wind brushes across the surface, it lends the ocean its breath. Small ripples grow, merge, and become rolling swells that travel for thousands of miles. They cross the planet's skin without ever growing tired, guided only by gravity and patience. And when they reach the shore, they bow, collapsing in foam and sighs. Energy released, peace restored. To scientists, a wave is a set of numbers, amplitude, frequency, velocity, but those words cannot hold what the eyes see. Each crest is an inhale, each fall an exhale, the sea breathing in slow motion, the same rhythm that beats quietly inside your chest. Close your eyes, listen to that sound. The ocean's pulse, steady, timeless, patient. When it retreats, it takes the noise of the day with it. When it returns, it brings silence shaped like music. Even in darkness, waves continue their slow conversation with the moon. Each rise and fall, a soft reminder that stillness isn't the absence of motion. It's motion made gentle enough to rest within itself. Before the sun wakes, before the world remembers itself, tiny droplets appear on leaves, on petals, on skin. They do not fall, they arrive. The night exhales, and the air surrenders its hidden water. Each bead of dew is born from balance, not from force. As the ground cools, air meets its dew point. Vapor becomes liquid, invisible becomes visible. Science calls it condensation, but the earth calls it forgiveness. The sky returning what it borrowed during the day. Look closely at a field at dawn. Each blade of grass holds a jewel. Each spider web glimmers like silver thread. They exist for a heartbeat in time. And yet, in that moment, the world feels new again. Dew nourishes quietly, feeding roots, softening soil. It gives without announcement and leaves without regret. By mid-morning, it is gone, lifted back into air as sunlight warms the earth. No trace remains but freshness and calm. Dew teaches us that patience isn't waiting, it's becoming ready. It's the world saying, there is a right time for everything, and that time is always softer than you expect. When water slows enough to freeze, it remembers its form. Each molecule turns toward its neighbor, linking hands into perfect hexagons of light. The pattern opens wider, lighter, and because of this, ice floats, a miracle that keeps the oceans alive. If ice sank, lakes would freeze from the bottom up. Life would suffocate beneath solid stone. But instead, ice floats, forming a blanket that guards what breathes below. A layer of silence protecting movement, a fragile shield between winter and survival. Every glacier, every snowflake, every icicle hanging from a roof edge is geometry made patient, a record of wind and temperature, written molecule by molecule. Scientists drill deep into the ice and find bubbles of ancient air, tiny voices from thousands of years ago. When the sun returns and ice melts, those voices are released again, joining rivers, clouds, oceans, breath. Nothing lost, only continued. Ice does not die. It transforms. It keeps time in its hands until the world is ready to move again. And when it does, it flows like memory, finding its way home. A slow, shining return to the sea. Rain begins long before a single drop falls. It starts as invisible vapor, lifting from oceans, lakes and rivers. A quiet exhalation of the planet, rising toward cooler air. There, high in the sky, vapor gathers into clouds, soft cities of drifting moisture, each droplet forming around a speck of dust, a particle of pollen, even a grain of salt from the sea. When the cloud grows heavy enough, gravity takes over, and what was once mist becomes movement. Each raindrop, perfect and round, begins its fall through wind and light. Some collide, merging. Others scatter into mist. 1,000 quiet collisions painting the air with motion. To the scientist, this is precipitation. To the poet, it is release. The sky learning to surrender what it cannot hold forever. When rain touches earth, it divides into countless destinies. Some soak into soil, awakening roots. Some return to rivers and oceans, completing the cycle they began. And some become part of you, flowing through your veins, joining your pulse to the rhythm of the clouds. There is no beginning, no end, only a long exhale that circles back as breath. Each drop is both arrival and return, a lesson written in water that letting go is not loss, it is continuation. Even after the rain ends, its scent lingers, that petrichor rising from wet earth, the smell of minerals and memory meeting air. The world inhales, if you breathe with it, and for a moment, the distance between you and the sky disappears. Look up. The sky is never still, yet it holds form. Clouds gather like thoughts, soft, shifting, ephemeral, each one built from water vapor, too light to fall. A sculpture suspended by balance alone. Cumulus clouds rise in bright towers of cotton. Stratus clouds spread like silk. Cirrus clouds stretch thin as memory across the upper air. They appear to drift aimlessly, but each carries purpose, moving heat, reflecting light, sculpting weather. A cloud's shape is a conversation between wind and temperature, between gravity pulling down and sunlight lifting up. Every curve, every edge, every ripple of shadow is an expression of equilibrium. When sunlight passes through a thin cloud, the air becomes prism-like, tiny droplets bending light into halos and rainbows. Science calls it scattering, but to the soul, it feels like revelation, light remembering how to rest. A single cloud can weigh hundreds of tons, yet it floats. Because its droplets are small enough to resist gravity, it is both heavy and weightless, dense and transparent. Proof that balance is not contradiction, it is grace. As evening falls, clouds thin, fading into colors of dusk, violet, amber, rose. They do not vanish, they transform. The sky never loses what it holds. It simply changes how it carries it. Every river begins as a secret, a drop melting from ice, a spring rising from stone. From there, it learns to move, winding, bending, carving its story into the land. A river never travels in straight lines, because neither does time. It flows with resistance, meeting rock, soil, root, and air, and each obstacle reshapes it, making its motion more complex, more beautiful. In that journey lies wisdom, that persistence doesn't mean force. It means continuity. Rivers carry memory. Every grain of silt, every leaf, every whisper of rain it gathers is part of a story that began long before you were born. When it reaches the sea, it does not end. It merges, dissolves, becomes one with something larger. Scientists call this erosion, transport, deposition, but the earth calls it language, the way water writes across mountains, etching valleys that remember its touch for millions of years. Sit beside a river sometime. Listen closely. You'll hear the sound of time smoothing its own rough edges. Each ripple a syllable, each curve a pause. It's not rushing, it's reciting. At night, when the stars reflect on its surface, the river becomes a mirror for the sky, flowing light through darkness, carrying the heavens downstream. And as you watch it, you might realize the river isn't moving past you. You're simply pausing in its eternal flow, deep beneath the soil. Where light cannot reach, the earth exhales. Water seeps through rock for centuries, winding through hidden corridors, gathering minerals, warmth, and time. Then, through a crack or hollow, it rises as a spring, clear, shimmering, whispering of journeys you cannot see. A spring is not merely water emerging from the ground. It is the planet speaking softly, revealing the quiet heartbeat beneath our feet. Each droplet that surfaces has touched layers of history, sandstone, limestone, volcanic glass, absorbing the essence of everything it passed. What you see at the surface is only the final sigh of an ancient path. Some springs are cold and pure, others hot and steaming, fed by the deep pulse of geothermal heat. In Iceland, Japan, Yellowstone, they rise like breath from the underworld, turning stone into colour and air into mist. Even their scent carries story minerals, sulphur, the taste of the earth itself. To drink from a spring is to sip from time's oldest cup, water that remembers mountains before they crumbled, forests before they grew. It carries no sound of hurry, no weight of memory, only clarity, a gift of balance between pressure and patience. Listen closely near one. You'll hear, not rushing, but rhythm, the sound of earth breathing out and in again, reminding you that even solid ground has a pulse, and every drop that rises is an echo of life, hidden, waiting, eternal. Mist is water's softest disguise, not quite cloud, not quite rain. It hovers between worlds, a shimmering veil that blurs the edges of what is real. Each droplet is so light that gravity forgets to claim it. Each shimmer a brief hesitation between earth and sky. When warm air meets cold ground, vapor condenses into these tiny beads, and suddenly the air becomes visible. You can walk through it and feel it cling to your skin like silk spun from silence. It carries the scent of moss, stone, morning. Mist softens everything it touches. A forest becomes a dream. A mountain dissolves into suggestion. Sound fades, outlines melt, and what remains is presence pure and immediate. Scientists call it microcondensation, droplets less than 0.05 millimeters wide. But to the heart, it is the air learning how to hold water gently, without breaking it, without letting it fall. In mist, there is humility. No single droplet claims shape. They exist together, invisible until seen as one. When sunlight pierces through, it turns the air into gold, light bending and scattering like memory rediscovering itself. Walk through morning mist, and you'll find your breath sinking with it, slow, deep, suspended, as if time itself were exhaling beside you. Beneath every field, a forest and mountain. Water moves in secret, not in roaring streams, but in silence, seeping through grains of sand, cracks in stone, the roots of ancient trees. This invisible world is called the groundwater, an ocean beneath the earth. Rain that falls today may take centuries to reach it, filtering through layers of soil and rock that purify and shape it. By the time it joins an underground aquifer, it carries minerals that flavor its clarity: calcium, magnesium, iron, the quiet signatures of the landscape it traveled through. These hidden waters sustain life without ever being seen. They feed wells, springs, and rivers from below. In deserts, they lie deep, sleeping beneath dunes, and in mountain valleys, they whisper upward to form meadows and streams. To geologists, groundwater is a system of flow and recharge. To the soul, it is proof that nourishment doesn't always reveal itself. Beneath the hardest surfaces, tenderness persists. When you walk across a meadow after rain, remember, there are rivers flowing below your feet. Slow and patient, unseen but essential. A reminder that not all movement needs to be visible to matter. The earth drinks, exhales, and sustains, all in silence. And through that silence, it keeps us alive. There is a moment, just before the first drop falls, when the air changes. It becomes thicker, cooler, almost electric. That scent, soft and ancient, is called petrichor, the fragrance of rain meeting dry earth. It begins deep within the soil, where plant oils and tiny bacterial compounds wait, dormant. When the first droplets strike, they release microscopic bubbles into the air, each carrying the essence of stone, clay, and memory. You smell it, and suddenly, you remember things you never meant to keep. A summer field, a quiet road after thunder, the way silence feels when wet. Scientists describe it simply: rainwater reacting with geosmin and oils. But that phrase can't hold its power, because petrichor is not just chemistry, it is recognition. It's the earth reminding you that everything living has scent, and every scent is a story of contact. When the air fills with that fragrance, it is as though the planet exhales contentment. Every leaf breathes easier, every pore of soil opens. The first rain does not soak, it softens. After the downpour passes, the smell lingers, low and sweet, hanging in the air like a lullaby made of minerals. The world feels clean, but not empty. Even the stones seem lighter, as if they too had been waiting to breathe again. When you step outside after rain, inhale slowly. You are breathing the memory of water touching home. Stand beside a lake and listen to how the wind speaks when it finds water. Over land, it is rough, pushing through grass and rock, but across water, it becomes smooth, graceful, almost shy. Each gust glides across the surface, stroking it into ripples that catch the light. And for a brief moment, air and water are one rhythm. The wind shapes the wave, and the wave returns the gesture. A meeting of movement and reflection. Scientists call this surface shear, friction between two fluids moving at different speeds. But beneath the numbers, there's something tender, a quiet proof that contrast can create harmony. The same breath that bends trees in the forest becomes a whisper when it crosses the sea, and as it travels, it gathers voices, salt, mist, the scent of faraway rain. When it reaches shore, it speaks them back to you, softly, like secrets the world forgot to hide. At sunset, the air cools and the wind gentles. Ripples fade, and reflections return, and the lake exhales the day it has carried. Each sigh of wind becomes slower, deeper, until it disappears into stillness, a stillness that feels like listening. You realize then, the world is not silent. It is simply resting between breaths. Inside you, there is a sea. Every heartbeat sends waves through the saline currents of your blood. Every breath condenses moisture that once drifted through clouds. You are 70% water, the same ratio as the earth itself. Coincidence? Or memory? When you cry, you return salt to the world. When you sweat, the ocean breathes through your skin. The water inside you has been here before. It has flowed through glaciers, through rivers, through creatures that no longer exist. Each drop within you carries the signature of evolution, proof that life began not in flame, but in tide. Even your cells hold miniature seas, tiny membranes regulating salt and flow, mirroring the balance of the oceans that birthed them. Every heartbeat is a tide turning inward, every exhale a wave leaving shore. Scientists trace hydrogen atoms in the human body and find they are ancient, billions of years old, born in the hearts of stars. You are not only water, you are cosmic water, the universe distilled into movement and breath. So when you drink, you are not just quenching thirst, you are reuniting with yourself. You are giving back to the ocean that learned to walk. And as you rest tonight, listen to your own pulse, the soft, steady surf inside your chest, the echo of the first wave that ever moved, still flowing, still singing. Through you, the ocean rises, then falls, never still, never hurried, just breathing in rhythm with the moon. Every 12 hours and 25 minutes, the tide changes, a slow pulse that has shaped coastlines for billions of years. This is gravity's lullaby. The moon's pull draws water toward it, while the Earth's spin carries the bulge onward, creating two tides on opposite sides of the planet. Even the smallest bay feels it, the sea leaning closer, then pulling away. For the scientist, it's orbital mechanics. For the poet, it's longing. Distance, creating movement. Absence, creating return. The tides shape life itself. Coral reefs bloom and sleep to their rhythm. Crabs, clams, and mangroves rise and rest in its cycle. Ancient sailors measured time not by clocks, but by tides. And, in a way, we still do. Our blood carries the same saline ratios as seawater. Our hearts beat in waves. When you stand at the edge of an ebbing tide, you're standing inside that pattern. The balance between surrender and pull. You feel it in your breath, your thoughts, your pulse. A rhythm too vast to notice until you pause. The moon never touches the ocean, yet it moves it completely. And perhaps that is how connection truly works. No force. Just gravity made gentle. No command. Just pull. The sea doesn't resist. It simply rises and answers. In the heart of the desert, beneath sun and silence, water waits. It hides in hollows of rock, in the shadow of dunes, gathering in secret pools that appear only for those who look slowly enough. These oases are not accidents. They form where the earth folds inward, where ancient aquifers whisper their presence to the surface. What you see as stillness is the meeting point of patience and pressure. Each drop that gathers there has travelled for years underground, filtered through salt, sand, and stone. When it arrives, it does not rush, it simply rests, mirroring the sky with perfect calm. To desert life, this stillness is salvation. Birds, foxes, insects, even seeds find renewal there. And when the wind crosses the pool, it ripples like breath over glass, a reminder that stillness is not absence, it is survival. Geologists map these as endorheic basins, closed systems that hold what the world cannot drain. But in truth, they are mirrors of the soul, small sanctuaries where motion pauses, where thirst becomes reflection. If you ever find yourself at such a pool, kneel, listen. You'll hear no waves, no rush, only depth. Water waiting, quietly remembering its way home. Fog is the sky dreaming downward, a cloud that forgot to stay above. It drapes mountains, rivers, and cities alike, turning sharp edges into whispers. Each particle of fog is born from breath. Sea spray lifted high, cooled, and returned to Earth's touch. When it rolls across the land, it brings with it the memory of distant oceans. Sailors once feared fog for hiding what they could not see, but to the world itself, fog is blessing, a way to share water where rain cannot fall. Redwoods drink it through their leaves. Moss gathers it drop by drop. Life sustained by softness alone. In the Pacific coasts of Chile, fog nets stretch between poles, catching mist and turning it into water for villages that see no rain. Even in the driest deserts, even fog is the bridge between sky and soil. It moves silently, like thought between waking and sleep. And when sunlight finally breaks through, the fog does not vanish, it rises, invisible once more, carrying warmth instead of coolness. Fog teaches us that clarity does not always come from seeing. Sometimes, it comes from trusting what you can feel, the soft air against your skin, the quiet weight of a world half hidden, half dreaming, and wholly alive. When water falls, it does not fear the drop. It lets go completely, freely, rushing from height to height until gravity turns it into sound. A waterfall is water in its moment of surrender, and that surrender becomes music. Each fall begins as a stream, gaining speed, tasting air, then breaking into spray as it collides with stone. Every droplet shines for an instant caught between fall and flight, a suspended note in nature's endless hymn. The roar you hear is not chaos. It is the harmony of millions of impacts per second, vibrations of earth, water, and air combining in pure rhythm. That sound masks everything else, the chatter of the mind, the noise of the day, until all that remains is pulse and breath. Scientists measure waterfalls in cubic meters per second, but no number can contain the way mist cools your face, or the echo that lingers in your chest long after you leave. In that moment, sound becomes stillness. Movement becomes meditation. When sunlight passes through the spray, rainbows shimmer and vanish, tiny bridges of color, gone as soon as they appear. You realize that nothing falling is truly lost. It changes shape, it becomes air again, and then it returns as mist, as rain, as calm. The waterfall teaches you that descent is not defeat. It is motion finding music, and in letting go, everything becomes whole again. Every droplet has a destination and a way back. Evaporation is the sky's invitation, a soft, upward pull, where sunlight warms the surface and whispers to water, rise. When a drop of ocean meets enough warmth, its molecules dance faster, breaking free from one another's grasp, rising invisibly into air. There, they join the wind, drifting for miles, for continents, until cold air gathers them close again. This cycle of evaporation, condensation, precipitation is the heartbeat of the planet. The same molecules that shimmer on your window this morning may fall as snow in the Arctic next year. Water has no homeland. It belongs everywhere. Scientists call it the hydrological cycle. To the Earth, it is breath. To us, it is forgiveness. The chance to begin again, endlessly. Each rise, each fall is balance restored. Evaporation is not escape. It is return in another form. A cloud is simply the ocean dreaming of sky. And rain is that dream falling home. So when you watch steam drift upward, remember it will come back, not as what it was, but as what it always meant to be, far above the forests, where air thins and silence grows heavy. Ancient rivers of ice move so slowly they seem still, but glaciers are never still. They flow, inch by inch, carrying mountains upon their backs. Each flake that fell thousands of years ago is pressed into crystal, and layer upon layer, until it becomes a body of frozen time. Inside lie bubbles of ancient air, tiny prisons of breath from lost centuries. Scientists study these layers like pages, reading the history of temperature, dust, volcanic ash. Each centimeter a year, each meter a millennium. But beyond the data, there is music. A low groan, a creak, the earth adjusting to its own weight. When glaciers melt, they give birth to rivers. Cold, clear, new. carving valleys that become green with life. Even in retreat, they give. Even in loss, they renew. They remind us that even what seems frozen moves. That patience is not stillness. It is motion so subtle, only time can see it. And when the last shard melts into sunlight, the water does not mourn. It flows downward, joining sea, sky, and cloud again. Another verse in the planet's endless song. Deep below the surface, the world changes. Sunlight fades, colors disappear, and in that blue darkness, sound moves farther than sight ever could. Water carries sound 4 times faster than air, yet somehow it feels quieter. Whales speak across oceans through vibrations, low notes that roll like thunder beneath the waves, messages of distance, memory, and belonging. Fish hum softly in coral forests. Crustaceans click like living metronomes. Each note blends into a vast, slow symphony. The sea's heartbeat turned to song. Scientists call it acoustic propagation. How temperature, salinity, and depth guide sound like invisible corridors. But there's something deeper in it, a hush that lives between the echoes, where the ocean seems to pause and listen to itself. When you dive deep enough, you find the SOFAR channel, a hidden layer where sound can travel for thousands of miles without fading. It's how whales find each other across hemispheres, how submarines once whispered through the dark. The deeper you go, the quieter your thoughts become, until your own heartbeat becomes the loudest thing you hear. In that stillness, you realize silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of calm. Rainforests are the lungs of the earth, and water is the breath that fills them. Each morning, mist rises from the canopy, the forest exhaling the night. Leaves release moisture through tiny pores called stomata, forming invisible clouds that gather, cool, and fall again as rain. This endless loop of evaporation, condensation, precipitation creates its own weather and its own heartbeat. In the Amazon, more than half of the rainfall comes from the forest itself. Water feeds trees. Trees feed clouds. And clouds return the favor in gentle waves of rain. The rhythm is self-sustaining, a system built not from force, but from cooperation. Scientists call this biotic pumping, the living engine of the planet's atmosphere. But to stand beneath those emerald towers, to feel the humidity wrap around your skin, is to sense something sacred, like being inside the breath of life itself. Each droplet that falls there is a fragment of memory, water that has circled the earth for ages, carrying whispers from ocean to root. Rainforests do not just make oxygen, they teach balance, to give, to take, to return, to breathe and let breathe. High above the world, where clouds brush jagged peaks, the glaciers are weeping. Their meltwater begins as a shimmer, a thin stream threading through ice and stone. But each year, the trickle grows. These tears of the mountains carry ancient stories, dust from forgotten ages, pollen from vanished forests, traces of sky frozen before humanity's first word. When they melt, they return those memories to the sea. Scientists measure the loss in millimeters per year, but what they're really measuring is time unraveling. The glacier doesn't vanish all at once. It exhales, slowly, its weight thinning like breath in winter air. Yet even in melting, it nourishes. The rivers it births irrigate valleys, sustain towns, and fill the air with the freshness of new beginnings. Nothing in water's life is wasted. Even its loss becomes life for something else. When you stand at the base of a melting glacier, you hear a sound unlike any other. The crack, the drip, the sigh, the earth remembering warmth. And in that sound, you understand that endings can be gentle, if they flow toward renewal. Beneath the glitter of waves, the ocean is always moving, not in chaos, but in grand, invisible rivers, currents that circle the globe with the precision of breath. They move heat, salt, and life, Weaving climates, carrying seasons, the Gulf Stream warms Europe, the Humboldt cools the South Pacific, and deep below, a colder current slow as thought drifts from pole to pole. Together they form a single loop, called the global conveyor belt, a circulation so vast it takes 1,000 years to complete one round. Every drop of water you touch has travelled through this current before. It may have once floated near the Arctic ice, then slipped down, heavy with cold and salt, flowing into darkness, only to rise again, reborn by sunlight and wind. Scientists call this thermohaline circulation, a balance between temperature and salt, between gravity and patience. But beneath the math lies music, a rhythm too deep for ears, too vast for time. Currents shape weather, nourish coral reefs, carry plankton, the forests of the sea, and link every shore on Earth. They are the ocean's bloodstream, the pulse that keeps the planet alive. When you stand by the shore and feel a breeze borne halfway across the world, you are already part of it. You are standing inside Earth's slowest, gentlest heartbeat, listening to the planet breathe under Antarctica's frozen miles, beneath the weight of silence and cold. Lakes live. Dark, sealed for millions of years, they move, flow and breathe, unseen and untouched by sunlight. One of them, Lake Vostok, stretches longer than a city. It lies beneath nearly 4 kilometers of ice, yet it remains liquid, kept warm by pressure, by the Earth's heat, by its own persistence. Within it, life may still exist, microbes that have never known air. In that dark isolation, evolution found another way to begin. It's a reminder that life needs neither light nor witness, only patience, and water. When scientists drilled into it, they found chemistry older than memory, oxygen rich, minerals rare, a soup of survival written in silence. These subglacial lakes act as time capsules, keeping the Earth's secrets frozen in motion, each one a window into what once was, and what might still be. To think that, under that frozen desert, rivers run quietly in darkness, is to understand the paradox of water, that stillness is never still, and sleep is never empty. Even beneath the weight of worlds, water keeps dreaming. In some storms, not every raindrop makes it home. High above deserts and mountains, the rain begins, as always, vapor condensed into perfect spheres. But before it can fall, the air below steals it away. It's called virga, the rain that evaporates before reaching the earth. You can see it as faint, silver streaks beneath clouds, curtains of water that vanish mid-air, ghosts of weather that almost was. To meteorologists, it's data, humidity, temperature, lapse rates. But to the eye, it's grace, a dance that ends in disappearance. Each droplet falls through warm, dry air, turns to vapor again, rises invisibly back into the sky. Nothing lost, nothing wasted. Virga cools the air it passes through, softening the desert heat, painting shadows of rain on the horizon. Even where drought reigns, water still moves, still blesses. When you stand beneath it, you can feel the ghost of coolness, a promise in the wind, proof that not every gift must touch the ground to matter. Sometimes, what vanishes is what renews us most. The rain that never lands still teaches the sky how to give. Every drop that falls upon the earth remembers, not in words, but in vibration. When molecules collide, they align for a moment, then separate, carrying a trace of the encounter forward. This is how rivers remember rainfall, how lakes carry the echo of the winds that shaped them. To scientists, this is hydrogen bonding, fleeting, fragile, lasting only trillionths of a second. But multiplied across countless interactions, it becomes continuity, the whisper of persistence. Water stores temperature, absorbs sound, holds minerals and light within its fluid skin. Even the salt in the ocean is memory. the residue of stones that once stood high as mountains. When you taste the sea, you taste the world's oldest conversation. Rock and rain speaking through time. The cycle never ends. The same water that once touched a leaf in an ancient forest may now flow through your veins. Each sip, each breath, is communion with all that ever was. When you listen to falling rain, you are hearing repetition older than language, the rhythm of return, the sound of remembering how to begin again. Water does not forget, because forgetting would mean stillness, and stillness is something water has never known. Seen from space, our world glows blue, not from light, but from reflection. The ocean bending sunlight into calm. 70% of the planet is water, a mirror vast enough to hold the sky. Astronauts call it the blue marble, a sphere of ocean wrapped in air, spinning gently through a darkness so wide it almost feels silent. But inside that silence, there is music, currents swirling like notes on an invisible score, clouds forming in time to their rhythm. Every living thing depends on this water skin, the thin, shining boundary between earth and void. Without it, the world would be dust and stone. With it, we have life, reflection, meaning. Light enters water and slows, each photon bent, scattered, absorbed, until only the blue remains. That's why the sea glows with depth, why distance turns to color. The ocean is not just the planet's surface. It is its memory, its blood, its mirror. Every breeze, every storm, every raindrop is the planet's way of speaking its own name. When you look out at the horizon, you are seeing time folded into color, and somewhere beneath that endless blue, the earth is whispering back to the stars. A single drop of water seems nothing, light enough to vanish on skin, but in truth, it holds infinity. Inside it are billions of molecules, each one spinning, colliding, a universe of motion contained in something barely visible. In 1 teaspoon of water, there are more atoms than there are stars in the known universe. Every droplet holds the same structure, hydrogen embracing oxygen, a perfect triangle that builds oceans, rivers, tears. The same shape repeated endlessly, scaling from microscopic to planetary. Physicists measure its surface tension, biologists its purity, but poets see in it something simpler, the proof that fragility and strength can exist together. A drop can reflect an entire sky, cradle a leaf, split sunlight into a rainbow, and when it joins others, it becomes river, sea, storm, a reminder that unity is not about sameness, but connection. So when you see a raindrop on glass, watch how it moves, how it hesitates, then finally joins the one beside it. That is the secret of all existence. Every small thing finding its way back to the whole. The infinite always begins with a single drop. When lightning splits the sky, it isn't anger, it's chemistry. A single bolt tears through air at 30,000 degrees, hotter than the surface of the sun. In that instant, oxygen and nitrogen collide, fuse, and change form. What follows is ozone, the sharp, clean scent of renewal you smell after rain. Lightning creates life from energy. It breaks apart molecules, making new compounds that feed soil and sky. Before living things could speak or move, storms were already writing the planet's first recipe for growth. Each flash of light in the prehistoric sky created nitrates that rained down into oceans and swamps, and from that reaction, life began to stir. To meteorologists, lightning is charge equalization, a balance restored. But to the Earth, it is pulse, a reminder that energy must move, and that every release makes room for calm. When thunder rolls through valleys, its echo carries miles deep, soft, alive. It's the sound of atmosphere breathing again, and afterward, when the air cools, the world feels lighter, cleaner, renewed. Even destruction holds creation's spark. What burns, nourishes. What strikes, clears. The storm always gives back more than it takes. So, when you see lightning, don't think of violence. Think of rhythm. It's the sky's way of remembering how to begin again. Beneath waves that shimmer like glass, entire cities bloom silent, glowing, alive. Coral reefs. The rainforests of the ocean. They are not rocks but living colonies. Millions of tiny polyps building skeletons of calcium and colour. Together, they form cathedrals that hum with life. Fish threading through arches, currents carrying plankton like offerings, light bending into liquid mosaics. Coral grows millimetre by millimetre, slowly enough to teach patience, strong enough to shape continents. Each structure a balance of fragility and endurance. Alive, breathing, feeding through invisible mouths. Scientists study their photosynthesis, how algae and coral exchange gifts of light and sugar. But beneath the data, there's devotion. Symbiosis so delicate that when one breathes wrong, the other fades. When water warms too much, coral bleaches. Its color leaves, its body turns pale. But even then, it waits. If the water cools, it heals. The ocean, patient as always, teaches resilience through vulnerability. To look at coral is to see the planet building beauty out of limitation. Fragile, permanent. A breathing cathedral beneath an endless blue sky. And as you drift above it, you realize the sea is not empty. It's filled with architecture made of breath. Some lakes live only for a season. They appear after rain, spread quietly across valleys, reflect the sky for a while, then disappear back into soil and air. They are called ephemeral lakes, temporary mirrors of time. No map can hold them. They exist between moments. One day, they cradle birds, reeds, and stars. The next, they are dust. To hydrologists, they are drainage basins, collecting excess from sudden storms. To poets, they are memory, proof that beauty doesn't need to last to be real. Every droplet that forms them is part of a larger promise. It will return. Evaporation is not death, it's ascent. The same water that shimmered in that fleeting lake may one day fall as snow on distant mountains. When these lakes dry, they leave behind rings of salt, shells, and fossils. Records of presence written in absence. The desert glows white where they once rested, a soft reminder that impermanence can shine. Stand in such a place after sunset, and you'll feel it. The stillness, the weight of what was. The lake is gone, but its reflection lingers in the air, like a sigh that never fully faded. And perhaps that is all permanence ever was. A rhythm between appearing and release. When snow begins to fall, the world hushes. Sound softens, air thickens, and for a brief, suspended moment, even time feels slower. Each flake drifts in silence, yet together they compose a melody, a whisper only winter can hear. Fresh snow absorbs sound. Its structure, tiny ice crystals packed with air, catches vibration, transforming noise into calm. That's why a snowfall feels sacred, because it quite literally quiets the world. Every flake is unique, a frozen poem of geometry written in mid-air. No two are the same, yet all belong to one chorus. They land gently, layering peace upon roofs, trees, streets, turning everything familiar into dreamscape. Scientists call this acoustic absorption, but to the heart, it's stillness made visible. Snow doesn't erase sound, it tucks it in, as a parent might wrap a child before sleep. When the sun rises, the stillness brightens. Light bounces off each facet, scattering in all directions. And what was silence becomes shimmer. You can almost hear it, the faint crystalline hum of cold light. And when the snow finally melts, it does not mourn its passing. It simply changes shape, flowing into streams that carry winter's song towards spring. The surface of the sea is a paradox. It reflects the sky perfectly yet hides entire worlds below. Every wave is a shifting mirror, bending sunlight into fragments, breaking perfection into motion. At dawn, the ocean holds gold. At noon, silver. At dusk, fire fading into violet. The light never repeats itself, because water never stops moving. Each photon that touches the sea enters a labyrinth of reflection, refraction, absorption. Some vanish into blue depths, others bounce skyward to become glint and glare. This is why the ocean shines with impossible life, because light never dies there, it only learns to wander. Scientists can trace this in wavelengths and albedo, but standing by the shore, you don't think of numbers, you think of breath. The way light moves like air through water, and how, somehow, it always finds its way back to your eyes. Even moonlight dances upon these waves, silver threads weaving through the dark, and in that shimmer, you sense the truth of all reflection, that what shines upon the world also shines within you. The ocean does not keep the light, it only borrows it, long enough to turn it into calm. Above you right now, oceans are traveling. Every cloud is a river made of vapor, carrying billions of tons of water across continents. They form where air rises and cools, vapor condensing around dust, pollen, salt. Invisible becomes visible, weightless becomes vast. Some of these clouds stretch thousands of miles, their moisture feeding entire forests, their shadow drifting slower than mountains move. They rain upon lands that have never seen the sea, bridging worlds through vapor alone. Meteorologists call them atmospheric rivers, currents of water in the sky, each one holding more flow than the Amazon. They link ocean to desert, mountain to plain, sky to soil. Without them, drought would swallow continents. With them, the planet breathes, inhaling through evaporation, exhaling through rain. And when they pass overhead, you may feel their weight in the air, a thickness, a promise. They remind you that even what seems far apart is connected in ways unseen. When the rain falls, you're standing in the middle of a journey that began as mist above the sea. Every drop on your skin is the sky remembering where it came from. When the sun sinks and the sea turns black, the ocean does not sleep. It glows. Tiny organisms, plankton, algae, jellyfish, release light from within. It's called bioluminescence, a language of brightness whispered through darkness. Every spark you see drifting beneath the waves is a living pulse, a firefly of the sea. Some shimmer to communicate, others to lure, others simply to survive. In the deep, where no sunlight reaches, bioluminescence is sight itself, the way the ocean remembers light. When waves crash, the water flickers blue, each crest lined with liquid stars. As you wade through the shallows, your steps ignite trails of glowing dust. You are walking through a galaxy made of salt and life. Scientists explain it through enzymes, luciferin and luciferase, chemistry turning oxygen into glow. But beyond that, there is poetry, light emerging from isolation, beauty from necessity. Even whales and sharks glow faintly under certain skies, their skin reflecting the shimmer of their food chain, the luminous echo of every creature below. At night, when the tide whispers and foam glows faintly, you can almost hear it, the murmur of a world alive beneath vision, softly shining just to remind the universe that darkness is never complete. There is rain falling somewhere, always. Over jungles, over oceans, over forgotten plains. At this very moment, billions of droplets are leaving clouds, meeting Earth, vanishing, returning again. The hydrologic cycle is not a process, it's a pulse. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, rise, drift, fall, repeat. It has no beginning, no ending, only transformation. The water you drink tonight may once have frozen on a comet, or fallen as rain upon the first forest that ever lived. It has crossed ages and continents, flowed through rivers, clouds, lungs, and veins. Scientists can trace this journey through isotopes, counting hydrogen atoms to find where they've been. But to the spirit, it is the sound of continuity, the soft proof that nothing is ever truly lost. Even deserts receive it, eventually. A single drop, a faint drizzle, enough to wake seeds that have slept for years. Water finds a way, always. It refuses to stop, because stopping would mean forgetting how to return. When you close your eyes and listen to the rain, you're hearing the same rhythm that once echoed through primeval seas, the same lullaby that cooled volcanoes and carved mountains. It falls now as it did then, never tired, never done, just endlessly beginning again. Every cloud is a clock, not of numbers, but of change. You can tell the hour by their motion, the season by their shape, the story of the wind by the way they fold and fade. High cirrus clouds, thin as breath, speak of calm, of upper winds smooth and distant. Cumulonimbus towers warn of storms to come, and in between, stratocumulus, altostratus, lenticular waves, each one marking a rhythm in the atmosphere's song. The average cloud weighs thousands of tons, yet it floats, held by balance alone. Within it, droplets rise, fall, merge, break, a choreography of gravity and air. As the sun moves, clouds change color. White at noon, gold at dusk, violet at twilight. Each hue a whisper of scattering light, of sunlight traveling through more and more air until only warmth remains. To meteorologists, it's data. To dreamers, it's language. The sky writing poems it never repeats. Watch long enough, and you'll see how clouds teach time to move gently, not in ticking seconds, but in breaths. They remind us that nothing stays, and nothing truly leaves. It all just drifts. There are rivers in the world that defy logic, that seem to move against the pull of gravity, rising instead of falling, turning upstream when the tide commands. In Canada's Bay of Fundy, in the Amazon's hidden bends, in estuaries around the globe, rivers meet the sea not as rivals, but as equals. The ocean pushes in, and for a few hours each day, the river obeys. This is the tidal bore, a wall of water rolling inland, a meeting of currents where fresh and salt embrace. The river's surface ripples, reverses, and carries waves of renewal into the heart of the land. To science, it's hydrodynamics, gravity, friction, salinity, pressure. To the soul, it's surrender. Even the strongest flow learns to listen. The backward river isn't broken, it's balanced. It knows that progress sometimes means yielding, that power can live in flexibility. When the ocean withdraws, the river resumes its path as if nothing happened. Yet everything has changed. Each reversal leaves the shore reshaped, the banks smoother, the world cleaner, and perhaps so do we. Each time we learn that stillness and motion are just two ways of returning home. Before there was life, before there was sound, there was water. In the dark cradle of a young earth, rain fell for centuries, steam condensing into oceans that cooled the planet's skin. From those depths, chemistry began to dream. Hydrogen met oxygen. Minerals dissolved. Lightning struck, stirring the seas into possibility. And from that quiet chaos, life took its first breath, a single cell suspended in salt. Every creature since then, every forest, every cloud, every heartbeat, is an echo of that beginning. We are water remembering itself. Even now, when you drink, you taste time, a molecule born in the furnace of stars, circling through everything that ever lived. The same hydrogen that once burned in the sun's heart now flows through your veins, cool, patient, eternal. Water was never just element, it was witness. It has seen every dawn, every storm, every rise and fall of light. And as you listen, you can almost hear it, the low hum of the universe's oldest voice flowing through you, softly saying, "You began with me, and you are still part of me." The first drop never ended. It simply learned to move. The world falls quiet again. Waves slow. Clouds drift. Rivers return to calm. And somewhere, in the stillness, the pulse of water continues. Steady, ancient, endless. You can let go now, float within that ancient hum, and feel the universe breathing with you. And so, we have drifted together, traveller of tides and thought, through 50 quiet revelations of water, earth, and light, each one a breath, a pulse, a ripple beneath the surface of knowing. You have walked through rain and river, through the silence of oceans and the shimmer of stars, through the slow rhythm that binds all things alive, and through it all, you have never been apart from it. You were never outside of nature, only asleep inside it. Close your eyes and feel what remains. The world still turns. Mountains breathe in shadow. Clouds form and dissolve in endless exchange. Light bends itself softly across the dark. Every current of air, every grain of soil, every spark that drifts in the sky moves to the same rhythm as your chest rising and falling. You are not watching nature, you are remembering it. It has always been here, patient, waiting for your silence. Breathe now, slow, deep, gentle. Inhale and feel the ocean entering you. Exhale and feel the river leaving you. You are the tide. You are the wave that returns to itself. Stillness, when it arrives, is not absence. It is the quiet music of completion. It is the moment when water finds its own reflection and knows it has never truly moved. There is no need to name the things you've learned. No need to collect, to categorize, to hold. All truths are already within you, woven into heartbeat, into bone, into breath. Outside your window, the night continues its rhythm. Stars drift like lanterns across the dark. The moon lays a silver path upon the sea. Somewhere, a forest exhales its cool perfume. Somewhere, rain falls softly upon forgotten leaves. And somewhere, very near, the universe listens through your stillness. Let yourself fade into that listening. Let thought dissolve. Let memory loosen. You are not ending, you are returning. Returning to the beginning of everything, to still water, to first light, to breath. There is no boundary now between body and sky. The pulse within you is the same pulse that turns galaxies. You are vast, and yet you are held. You are ancient, and yet newly born with every breath. And as galaxies continue their patient waltz, as light stretches softly into forever, as gravity hums its low, eternal song, you may rest. The universe does not leave you, it becomes you. It moves through you in silence and clarity, in tides and dreams, in the heartbeat that carries you home. So, rest now. Let the stars keep their watch. Let the tides carry your dreams where they wish. Let the quiet of the cosmos cradle you in its arms. For here, in this breath, you have found what every traveller seeks. The still water within calm, endless, kind. Sleep now, and dream in rhythm with the world.